You see, kids don't really know what the news is, nor does the average adult really pay that much attention. I think we give media people too much power by thinking people really listen to their every word. Every time they put out another fib, I became incensed. Oh, look what they said. Look at the phony poll about Obama. But the fact is that they don't have that much direct influence on the average person. I get excited because I can see what they're doing, but do you? Dad would walk in at 6:30 at night, white from a day in the store. He might just have fought his way home through a snowstorm in his big green DeSoto. And here is his number one son getting fat, watching television, eating steak and cherry vanilla ice cream. He's starving and there's no food for him. I don't have to tell you what flashed through his eyes, my mother's, my mother's eyes, and the dog's eyes. He never thought I'd amount to anything. The arguments we would have, my God. You're ruining the kid. Look what you're doing. You're making him soft. You've got to make a kid hard, he used to yell. Look what you're doing to the kid. You're making him a weakling. He'll never amount to anything. He's soft. Look at him. Over there eating that steak and ice cream. He was probably starving at that point. He got home with the slush and galoshes, snow over the top, and his worst nightmare came true. His wife was catering to his son. Then I go on. The guy comes back from the hunt, and what's going on in the cave? The woman he is married to is cooking for the child who has done nothing that day but go to school. And look at girls. So it was soon thereafter that the whole soft life came to an end. No more ice cream, no steak, no TV trays. I was forced to go into his store's basement on Ludlow Street to clean bronzes. That's the beginning of my purgatory and my manhood. You know, this is very good writing. I was too close to it last year to realize how good this is. This is as good as this. You see why I like The Sopranos and Mad Men? I have a flavor. I'm editorializing now. I'm reading my own book like new. It's good writing because it's simple, basic. I grew up reading real writers like Hemingway, who wrote. See, he was a journalist first, and he taught me to write as succinctly as possible. Then, when I was studying to be a scientist, I learned scientific writing to write scientific papers, and the first rule was succinct, as few words as possible to get your ideas across. Anyone can write long sentences and the herefore, theretofore, and that's not the way to write. So I said, that's the beginning of my purgatory, my manhood. It says it like straight out, you know. I was cast down into the cellar where I used cyanide solution to clean bronze statues of their gorgeous patina. The statues were gorgeous. I learned a lot about art because I stared at them all day long. Now you may say, what do you know about art? Well, I know quality from junk, artistry from fakery. The rest is a matter of taste. Now, let's analyze that line together. Look what I just wrote. What do you know about art? I know quality from junk, artistry from fakery. The rest is a matter of taste. That sentence is succinct and it says it all. Anyway, so I'll go back to the book. So these figures would come in with a brown or black patina, which is the result of oxidation over time. The patina was sublime. But the nouveaux who were buying the figures to turn them into lamps wanted them to glitter like gold. Underneath the patina was the original bronze metal. I'll take that. I'll turn it into a lamp. Mount the thing. Blah, blah, blah. They'd buy it and a certain number would be left for the weekend that I'd have to clean down in the basement. Down into the dirty, horrible, dank dungeon, filled with huge old wine barrels. A toilet from hell. No mirror on the wall except the shattered shards speckled from the acid that hit it. I'm down there from a young age with a toothbrush, scrubbing away at the patina. I don't really know if the cyanide was that bad. If it was, I'd be dead by now, I think. Perhaps it protected me from something. Hey, Dad, explain to me how I can use cyanide, since I understand for basic chemistry that they use cyanide balls at San Quentin. They put a guy in the chair and strap his head over the bucket, and the pellets drop in. Then the gas comes up, and he's dead in a few seconds. Dad, why would you put me in a basement with cyanide pellets to clean bronzes? Here's the answer now. This is right out of the Bible. I couldn't believe it. It took me 30 years to figure this out. This was a repetition of Abraham and Isaac. You see, Abraham picked up the knife, and God said, slay your son. He didn't even ask, my son? You sure you mean my son? Your son. I want him dead. All right, I'm a good guy. I'll kill my son for you. He grabs the kid, grabs him by the neck, like an Islamo-fascist, and is about to cut his throat when God says, wait, I was just kidding. I was only testing you. Now, no one ever talked about what that did to Isaac. The father he trusted suddenly grabs him by the neck and wants to cut his throat. You know, all you hear about is Abraham was so loyal and listened to God. But what did it do to Isaac? It drove him nuts. He never trusted anyone after that. His own father wanted to cut his throat because he was listening to someone in the sky. So now I'm in the basement, and he says to me, you're going to clean bronzes because you're going to become a man. I'm going to make you tough. You got to do something, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to use these pellets. Here's a big barrel of them. I get them from a chemical supply store. You drop them in water, and then you dip in your brush and wash the bronze, and the black comes off, and it looks shiny again. The customer wants the shiny statue for a lamp. So I say to him, how do you know it's not going to kill me? Here's what Abraham says to me. I mean, in the modern-day story, he says, because there's a potassium salt of the cyanide and a sodium salt of the cyanide. But here's the kicker. Dad doesn't tell me which one kills and which one dissolves patina, which is exactly why I went into science and medicine and chemistry, to find out whether he was trying to knock me off or not. I'm sorry, this is good writing. I'm sorry, this is good. Nobody else would do this except Louis from the Bowery, the one with the monkey. We get rubber gloves on up to our elbows and drop these white pellets into water, then turn it into a cyanide solution. Then we take the brush and rub the figure until the patina came off the bronze. I'm rubbing. It would take you an hour or two to do each statue. Rub, I'm a kid, I'm rubbing. And what I'm thinking about is where I'm going that night. I'm going out on a date or to hang out with my friends, or I'm going to a movie. Meanwhile, my face would be getting blotched, and I'm rubbing and cleaning in what's like a Dickens basement. So I get into high school chemistry years later, and I told my teacher what I was doing. I was using cyanide balls. My father had a huge chemical supply. It was not used for anything but this. I said to the teacher that I use these cyanide balls for cleaning statues, for cleaning solution. Teacher said, what? It's poisonous, but don't get worried. There's a sodium cyanide, and there's a potassium cyanide salt. Now, to this day, I don't know which one kills you. If you're a doctor reading this or listening to this on the Savage Nation or a trained scientist, I want you to think about what I'm going to say. Is it possible that inhaling the fumes that didn't kill you outright in some way mitigated against the oxidation of fatty foods powering through my arteries? I have a pet theory that in some way, although it blotched my face, it built up my immunity to something. I know it did. I just don't know what. So that story is found in Psychological Nudity by Michael Savage. Great story. Worthy of a movie. I'll be right back.
Savage. Roger Hedgecock coming up at 7. Now, the Savage Nation on Talk 910 KNEW.
Even though the mainstream media in the United States is trying not to mention me, there are a few people out there who are actually standing up for what's right and reporting on this vicious attack on me and on freedom of speech. One such person is Arthur Brazzoni with Examiner.com, who has an article linked on michaelsavage.com in which he personally called the British Embassy to get the truth about why I was banned and how he found out that my name is still listed with murderers and terrorists. Arthur Brazzoni, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Thanks, Dr. Savage, for having me on your program. I'm honored.
Arthur, what drew you into my story?
As a journalist, I had to be concerned, and I have to be concerned about any attempts to restrict free speech. And the fact is, as you know, Dr. Savage, this has been going on for about 2 or 3 years. It really began with Hillary Clinton's and Bill Clinton's claim of a right-wing conspiracy, and they've moved on to take action with their pocketbooks, and others have, to form various organizations to attack talk radio, especially conservative talk radio. And so I have been watching the issue carefully. I think it's probably the most important right that we have at this point, because if they silence opposition, which I believe they would like to, then we all lose, and the strengthening of their power becomes almost absolute. Almost every dictator that we know of in the last 50 years has managed to silence the opposition by using a form of fairness doctrine, whatever its ways, whether it's in Cuba or in Venezuela. It's always under the garment of fairness. So I have watched it and been concerned, and when you were banned in England, there was something clearly going on there. We don't know exactly what happened, but it's clear that somebody or some organization provided the kinds of tapes that took you out of context, which is it's harmful to your creativity to be taken out of context. As Michael Savage, in my opinion, is much like a jazz musician. You can't take a piece out of a jazz solo and get the full context of what's going on. And that's what they did. And I believe there were forces at work that have been trying to stifle free speech and conservative free speech because they know how powerful it is. So I've watched the issue. I've been writing about it, and I will continue to.
So researching the story, you called the British Embassy directly?
I called the British Embassy and talked to the press representative, Brandon O'Grady, on the record. He indicated to me that the ban is still in place on all of these 16 individuals, including Michael Savage. And I pushed him further because I asked him if Michael Savage attempted to enter Great Britain right now, what would happen? And Americans don't need visas to get, and vice versa, don't need visas, but he would be stopped in immigration, detained, and sent back, not allowed into Great Britain. And he had gotten a update report from the British Home Office yesterday. So that ban is still in place. In other words, the battle is not over by any means. I do believe that you have total disarray in the British Home Office. As you know, there's been a transfer of power as the new secretary, and I imagine they have many, many issues to deal with, including terrorism issues. And